Be honest. We know you turned that game off after the first inning. You didn't see the rest of it. Didn't see how weird things got. The Guardians come back, still not quite enough against the White Sox. We'll get into all of that. A weird, not the worst loss in the world. And do the Guardians have a preference for a certain type of hitter? I think you know the answer. We'll talk about that on today's Locked On Guardians.
You are Locked On Guardians, your daily podcast on the Cleveland Guardians, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the show today. The show is brought to you by us here on Locked On Guardians. Just us. And the us of us
not
are...
Locked On Ad Reads. It's Locked On Jeff and Justin.
Jeff and Justin. I'm Jeff. Over there is Justin. I've been the host of this podcast for 5 years now. And during that time, we have interviewed greats like Hunter Gaddis, Tim Herron, and Tanner Bybee. And before that, I was a writer.
On the show, though.
No. I was a writer for just about any Cleveland sports blog, as well as being a national lead prospect and draft analyst at Scout and 24/7.
I'm Justin Latta. Before I joined Jeff, I was the managing editor of Indians/Guardians Baseball Insider from 2018 to 2022. And I've also done a lot of work for different blogs. And I also have covered the Guardians/Indians farm system in a freelance role for the News Herald in the Morning Journal up here in Cleveland. Well, I think a lot of people, Jeff, probably turned this game off at the first inning, and they missed a very weird, interesting game.
Yes.
I'm not going to call it good. It was weird, and I think the law of averages says that we were due for one of these games because so much early on, Cleveland has been getting the lead first. They've been playing from in front, which it really benefits them, obviously. The White Sox are not a good team, and they also lost Yoan Moncada in this one. But again, the White Sox had scored
fine. I hope that was just accidental. It looked so bad.
It looked really bad. The White Sox had scored coming into yesterday. They had scored 16 runs in 9 games. I think they scored 4 runs against Detroit over the Royals over the weekend. So they were probably due. Just that's how baseball works. Even the bad teams sometimes have good games, and then the Guardians didn't get off to a lead because Logan Allen struggled. We'll get into that, but I just think we were due for one of those games. Things have been going so well early, and I don't know. I don't want to say it's not obviously no loss is good, and there were definitely issues in this one, but as far as losses go, the offense came back, and a couple of ball bouncing a certain way, and maybe certain bats not hitting certain spots, the Guardians probably win this thing. So I don't know. It's hard to be too devastated at this point with this loss. It stings because you came all the way back and tied the game, but I don't know. At the end of the day, it's just another run of the mill. Okay, it was a weird game and you lost. That's all I can really say.
Yeah, it's one of those things. I missed the first inning. I was out with taking my daughter for a walk, and you were texting me about this isn't good. And by the time I came in,
5 runs in the first inning is not good.
It was trying to think it was 5-2 or if it was just 5-0, but no matter what it was not a good situation. But it was nice to see Logan Allen battle back to go 4. That was great. Just to see overall, it's he could have packed it in. He could have just taken a negative approach, but dude battled. It was some BABIP bad luck in the first, and we can talk about the pen more later, but it's the pen. Even the Barlow situation, when I talk about weird, it's if that bat doesn't chatter, he probably throws out. Gosh, I'm trying to think who it was who scored. I'm blanking right now. Lee, the catcher, who's engaging again. He probably throws Lee out, and then none of that happens. But it was a weird game. You're gonna get BABIP sometimes, and they got BABIP today. And you just gotta love how everyone battled, and the pen looked great. And I'm just gonna choose to be positive on it.
Yeah, like I said, it was weird. I mean, definitely not great that Allen struggled early on. There was some bad luck involved. I think the real big issue for Allen was just missing his spots. He would miss over the plate, and instead of hitting his spots in the corners, which is where he kind of needs to live, that was kind of his issue early on. And there was a couple of hits Yoan Moncada's single in the first inning was 74 miles an hour, and then There were a couple hard hit balls in the first inning after that, but like, I don't know. It wasn't anything too crazy. They weren't like really hit. There was two balls over 100. If you want to get technical, Lennon Sosa's double was 99. So we'll say 3 out of the 6 balls in play that inning were hit pretty well. The rest were not hit all that well. He just didn't hit his spots. That's really what it was. He missed over the plate too much, and that's going to hurt a guy like Allen who does rely on command. Didn't get a lot of whiffs, which is, a tough day for. This is not what the Guardians needed. Like they needed, given what's going on with the rotation. I know McKenzie got deep yesterday. For him anyway, it was good. But they really need to get the starters need to go as deep as they can to save the wear and tear on this bullpen early because you don't have your ace anymore. And Allen didn't exactly do that. But yeah, the next 3 innings he threw up zeros, and that bought the offense some time to score a couple of runs. I mean, by the 4th inning, the game was tied. So by the time he left the game, he was off the hook because the Guardians had tied the game. So yeah, credit to him to settle in and throw up the zeros because that's what major league pitchers do. You have your best stuff sometimes, and you got to go out there and keep your team in the game. And luckily, I mean, a year ago, I know it's 11 games, so it's hard to sit here and say like, well, how would this have gone a year ago? But let's be honest. I feel like a year ago, a 5-0 deficit at some point, we just would have said this offense is going to do it because, Josh Bell had not got it going. Mike Zunino never got it going. Ahmed Rosario was struggling out of the gate and just they had all kinds of issues a year ago. So a 5-0 deficit last year kind of felt insurmountable. And which is funny to say because in 2022, I think we really believed the team was not out of the game at all. So to say that 10 games into the season probably isn't accurate a year ago, but when you do revisionist history and look at how last year's team went, I think a 5-0 deficit would have seemed very devastating. Whereas today, they battled back very quickly, which was good to see.
I agree. It was definitely one of those things where the battling, the fact that this team never gave up, that everyone kind of did their part. That's why I could deal with it. Like was I frustrated? Absolutely. But like, this is all positive momentum. Now, if we could just see the bottom of the lineup contribute a little bit more, if I'm looking at this game, if I do my old thing I used to do with like 3 stars, one of them is probably Gaddis just for how strong he was, Jose, and then probably Quan is the other one. If I was going to look at it like offensively, I mean, we're right now, listen, Gabby Arias just may not be it. We'll see. Not ideal when you're getting pitch hit for Florio, but like, I mean, this was a bad game for Brennan, and Brennan is really struggling. And for Bo Naylor, like he is, everyone's calling for Austin Hedges. It's not like Bo Naylor's been any better. Let's be honest. For all the complaints about Hedges, Bo had a nice pick save. He actually did have a good defensive play in this one. But man, he is swing city right now.
Yeah, he did have the one walk, but he came up empty quite a few times at the plate. The back pick he had at home, I'm going to sound negative on this, but maybe there was no other way for him to make that play. Like that was just all he could do to make that play was just stab the ball the way he did. But I don't know. I feel like you want to see some more effort to go out and block the ball with your body, right? Like that's what gets guys into trouble. That's what's gotten him into trouble is trying to catch the ball and backhand the ball versus using your body to stop it. And again, I'm not saying that it wasn't a good play, but is that the best way to go about it? Maybe that was the only way he can make that play. So I'm not saying it was a bad one, but I don't know. Just that's the kind of thing that's got him in trouble for is trying to do that instead of using your body to smother, which is generally the more coached way, I would say.
No, I mean, listen, no one likes to backhand like a Naylor brother likes to backhand. Those guys go out of their way to try to backhand everything. But we're not going to backhand this break. I say we're close enough. We should probably take it and then come back and get into some of the pen chatter. There was good and bad. And man, there's
mostly good.
Some guys who are a lot of fun.
Bad. Yeah, I want to get into one more thing about this offense coming back too, so we'll come back to that in just one moment.
Listen, PrizePicks have been a fantastic sponsor, fantastic addition. I just love the line: pick more, pick less. It's that easy. That's a very simple, straightforward, but it gets the point across as well. You're not going head to head against other people. You're going head to head against the numbers. You know, if you had Will Brennan more than 2 strikeouts, guess what? You're in a good position today. And get in on playoff action with 100 times win on your money at PrizePicks as soon as you and the world's best players take the game to a new level during the postseason. Playoffs begin April 20th, playing the 16th, 17th, and 19th. Like I said, the big thing for me is it's nice that you can do all the work, the research, know the numbers, and it doesn't matter if someone knows them better. It just matters that you know what the likelihood is. It is not you versus anyone. It is you versus the numbers. So download the app today. Use the promo code LOCKEDONMLB, all lowercase, all one word, or you can go to the website. That works as well. That's where I signed up, was at their website for a first match deposit up to $100. That's some free money right there. Remember, that is PrizePicks. The promo is LOCKEDONMLB, all lowercase, all one word. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy.
I'll be honest. I wish we had PrizePicks in Ohio because it does sound really good. I would like to get it on there and just try to chase some numbers and see if I can get it right. It is a little nice compared to what else you're doing with daily fantasy. Speaking of getting in on things, make sure you are getting in on the action on Wednesday at 6:10. You can listen to the Guardians on your SiriusXM app. Tanner Bybee making the start in the series finale. I almost said season finale. Geez, we're not there yet. Series finale against the White Sox. You can listen to that by searching Guardians on the app. I thought it was a good quote by friend of the show, Andre Knott, at the end of, I think it was the bottom of the first inning. And he noticed that Hedges, as soon as that 5-run spot came from the White Sox, the inning finally ended, which, by the way, for Allen to get out of that, impressive, because that was 30-something pitches. I mean, there was no choice. He had to get out of it. The Guardians could not afford to pull him in the first inning. He had to get through it, and he did. But Austin Hedges, Andre said, was at the top of the dugout when the team came in and just said right away, like, one at bat at a time. Let's just chip away. Like, he was trying to make sure to get out in front. There was no issues from the guys coming off the field and already feeling like they're out of the game down 5-0. So again, I know everyone wants to say Austin Hedges can't hit. He shouldn't play. He plays too much, whatever. This is what he's here for. It was stuff like that. And they didn't win. So, no leadership war for Austin Hedges today, I guess, because they didn't win. But again, it just reinforces this is why he's here. And everybody says, like, the clubhouse stuff feels great because of him. And people get mad because it's so funny. People get mad at us sometimes for being too data heavy and relying on the data too much. And then when we talk about, things like this, like leadership with Hedges and how interesting that is and how it affects the clubhouse. And then people are like, oh, you're relying too much on vibes. Like, you can't quantify that. There's really no way to meet in the middle, I suppose. But I don't know. It just seemed relevant to point out that came up as soon as the team came off the field and they were down 5-0. And Andre said in the broadcast that Hedges was right there to meet the team and give him a message. So again, proving why he is here. And they didn't win, but this stuff matters. I know some people don't want to buy it, but it matters.
Yeah, no, you're right. They went out of their way to add him for this specific reason because it matters.
It does matter. We'll see how much it matters when he's not. Everyone also will say, well, fine, make him a coach. It doesn't hit the same way as a coach. Like, you'd have to really talk to ball players to find out how that works. Like, remember in the minors, like talking about Jason Giambi and stuff, and like, it just comes different when it's from a player on the team, on the 26-man roster than it does a coach. So you can sit there and say all you want. Well, just make him a coach then. But it just doesn't have the same effect when it comes from a coach that is a player. Like, that's why you need those guys in the locker room. That's why the Rangers traded for him. That's why the Pirates signed him. Like, everybody knows the guy can't hit. It's not a secret. It's not like the Rangers or the Pirates thought all of a sudden, oh, we're going to get Austin Hedges and he's going to be a 25 home run hitter. Like, no, teams kept adding him because they thought he could add value. And I know it's not popular to say that because Cleveland needs hitters because they got to maximize their roster in terms of offense. But they're not the only ones signing him, and the Rangers won a World Series last year, so there's got to be something to it. That's all I can say.
100%.
The bullpen did come in and do their job. Eli Morgan, credit to Eli Morgan. He has struggled this year, no doubt, which I thought was interesting because it felt like Stephen Vogt really trusted him early on, and he talked about him in spring training a lot, and he went to him early, and he struggled. But ironically enough, tonight, his slider, best pitch of all three, he got 3 whiffs on the slider. Didn't get a whiff on a fastball or a changeup, which, not a surprise to the fastball, but he also threw 92, 93, which is good for him, but slider became his best pitch tonight. So kudos to Eli Morgan for coming out and looking good, because when he comes in now, I got to say there's a little bit of a, I don't say negative vibe, but you got to wonder until he turns this around. And then Nick Sandlin, the guy that we were all about a year ago, and then fell off the table. And what was it, July? By July, it was just all gone. He allowed that leadoff double and then struck out 2 batters, and that was where Naylor saved him a run on the wild pitch. So 2 strikeouts from Sandlin. He looked good. And then, of course, Hunter Gaddis, Jeff's guy, Hunter Gaddis, throwing 98, some cheese out there, and then a 91-mile-an-hour slider. Just was too much for the White Sox offense today. It took a couple whiffs at that one too. But we'll talk about Barlow, but for the most part, I think Barlow is the only reliever. Morgan has had some hiccups early, but for the most part, outside of Barlow, everyone in this bullpen it just continues to look very, very reliable.
Yeah, and that's the nice thing. It's like not only is it, because we didn't expect this, right? With all the injuries, we thought this would be kind of a disaster show, and it's that pitching depth we spent so much time talking about, and maybe that's the hope for the starting rotation. That guys are going to step up with more experience and keep performing. But yeah, this bullpen and all those pieces are snapping into place right now.
They are, yeah. Morgan was better tonight again. We'll see if he keeps that up. And that was the 6th, the 7th inning for Hunter Gaddis. I mean, he keeps getting thrown in there in high leverage spots, like tie game in the 7th, runners on in the 8th. He just keeps coming out in leverage spots and keeps throwing strikes. And not even that, but efficiency. Like Nick Sandlin only needed 12 pitches, and that was after giving up a leadoff hit and struck out 2. Gaddis, struck out 2 and we had a perfect inning. He only needed 12 pitches. So not only do they get the job done, they can both come back tomorrow and pitch if they need, or Wednesday and pitch with the off day Thursday. Everybody should be available except for one, Scott Barlow, probably not available on Wednesday, and that's probably okay. He needed 27 pitches. I'll give the fact that the broken bat thing definitely hurt him a little bit, because if that bat doesn't come back at him, he makes the play there. Maybe 1 run still scores, but this guy was in a lot of 3-ball counts tonight, and it just feels like every time he's come out, I'd have to go look at the data a little bit closer, but I think
there's
he's
like
just got
one game
behind a lot of hitters. Yeah,
that he didn't, and that's the thing. Like he was actually out in front of in that Corey Lee at bat before, letting him come back in.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's not been great. We thought that, hey, well, this guy was bad in Kansas City. He was better with the Padres. Maybe they'll find, extra gear, because Kansas City is bad at pitching development. I better be careful though, because as we learned with yesterday's show, apparently Jerry Reinsdorf, I want to send a thank you to our everydayer Jerry Reinsdorf, as someone decided, because that's the only person who would jump in our comments and defend Jerry Reinsdorf and swear at us, Reinsdorf. So I do want to thank our everydayer there with that. But yeah, I mean, it has not worked for Barlow, which is kind of amazing. That if you told me that Barlow would be ineffective, Henches would miss close to the first month, and Trevor Stephan would miss the entire year, I'd be like, oh my goodness, this bullpen is a dumpster fire. But it hasn't. It's been arguably the strength of this team, which offensively they're doing well. It's like it speaks volumes that the bullpen is potentially a strength, just because there are other parts and components of this team doing quite well.
Yeah, you don't have Stephan, you won't get him this year, and then you should get Sam Henches back at some point. I want to say May. He's throwing live BP this week, so I would think the next step for him is going to be a couple of rehab outings, and it shouldn't take him more than I don't know, 3 or 4 rehab outings to come back. He's just got to make sure he can do back-to-back and doesn't have any swelling in that finger. I saw an article too saying that they're lucky they caught it when they did, because there was a good chance that they didn't catch it when they did. That could have been a months-long injury. So big relief there, pun intended, because I don't know if Cleveland can't get Scott Barlow on track. It's only been a couple games, so it's not jump off the cliff, and there was some weird luck involved. But he's got to throw more strikes, and I don't know, maybe when Hentges comes back, maybe not even before then, maybe move Barlow down out of some more leverage spots. I mean, I don't know who else you're going to go to tonight in that spot. Like, you're not going to go to Class A there. Who else in the bullpen are you going to? Like, Cade Smith pitched the other day. You're not, you want to be careful about who's going back-to-back days, I guess, early on. So I don't know. You had to go to Barlow there. You didn't have much of a choice, but I don't know. That's what everybody used to get mad about Brian Shaw, like giving up leads in the 8th inning, even though Brian Shaw had a great career, early on when he was with Cleveland. It doesn't matter when they pitch. If they're gonna not throw strikes the way Barlow did, it doesn't matter if that happens in the 7th inning or the 8th inning. It's gonna happen no matter what if he's not on. So you can't sit there and say, well, don't use him in the 8th inning, because if that's how he's gonna be, it's gonna happen in the 7th. It's gonna happen in the 8th. It doesn't matter. But definitely probably want to be more careful about leverage spots early on with him, maybe until he kind of figures it out. And much like Brian Shaw, like, I hate to say it, but they need Barlow to be good no matter what. Like, for this pen to be good, and it's already been good without him being good, but they're going to have to rely on him at some point. And it's, like everyone, like Tito used to say, we can't run from these guys because we need them. If we're going to be good, we're going to need them. And at some point they are going to need Barlow, and they can't afford to just not pitch him. They have to get him figured out. And hopefully by the time Hentges comes back, they do, and the bullpen just gets that much stronger.
Agreed. We'll be stronger after a quick message. We got some, some more fun information, some things you might not have thought about or known.
Yep, check all that out. We're going to talk about what the Guardians need in their lineup to make them win a championship. Passion, drive, and patience. The Guardians definitely need some more patience in their lineup. But that is the formula for winning championships. Also, what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance, like the Guardians need to do with Scott Barlow. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more, whether you're into speed, power, or style. eBay Motors has you covered with over 122 million parts. If you're number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with the eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time. You're going to get your money back. How many businesses are doing that? Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. All the parts you need at the prices you want. It is easy to make your car the Andres Jimenez, the MVP, and bring home huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available to U.S. customers. I would say, even though Andres Jimenez didn't have like a standout game tonight, he still had a hit, which wasn't a hard hit ball. Had a walk, a couple good defensive plays again. Just every day there's something he's doing that just he made a play on a ball. He almost threw somebody out. It was just an amazing play up the middle. Like every day, this guy just is so exciting to watch. I'm really glad the Guardians gave him that contract. Also, you can hear more about Andres Jimenez's great performances and Tanner Bybee's start in Game 3 of this series when you listen to the Guardians on your Sirius XM app on Wednesday. All right, bottom of the order, not so good. You kind of talked about it earlier. Brennan, 3 strikeouts. We saw more Ramon Laureano. He had a walk. His at-bats were okay. Like, he was getting deep into counts, but just wasn't, he had the one walk. That was it. And then Gabriel Arias, just a really rough night. Again, like, some nights we're talking about how the top of the order comes through. Some nights the bottom of the order comes through. But, the top of the order did their job tonight. Freeman had 1 timely hit. He did strike out twice, which was kind of rough. But Naylor had the big homer. Jose had 3 hits. Andres was on base twice. Quan had 2 hits. Like, the top 4, we'll say 5 did their job, even though Freeman's offense is kind of tapered off. But it's hard to win games when you give up 5 runs and the 6 through 9 in your order goes, 0 for 11 with 2 walks. That's kind of hard.
No, I agree. It's just, but they spotted him those points. And Freeman did have that. Like, we talked about the one big hit, but yeah, the rest of the bottom was bad. It was bad. Very bad.
Very good, bad.
No,
All right,
there's
then we
not
want to
much
talk
more to
about.
say.
Yeah, there isn't much more to say. We got one point we're gonna make, and then I'm gonna have a counterpoint to that. But Jeff and I have been talking off air, and Jeff has brought up the point though that there's been some talk about the draft and should the Guardians draft a right-handed hitter versus left-handed hitter, and quite frankly,
Never draft for need.
Right. The real answer is doesn't matter what side of the plate they really hit from. You draft the best player available and you move on. That's all it is. Doesn't matter what position they play. Doesn't matter what side of the box they stand. You draft the best player available. But it does seem like there are some points to be made. The Guardians do seem to prefer left-handed hitters, and
I think
there are some reasons for that.
Yeah, it's one of those things. Like sometimes people get focused on like thinking it's something. Like I'm trying to remember what's that expression. Like it's not a something. It's actually a feature. Like that's not a mistake. It's what they're going for. Like
a bug, not a feature. Yeah,
it's
not.
It's that.
It's a feature, not a bug.
Bug, and everyone's so focused. They don't. You know why they have a ton of left-handed hitters? There's a multitude of reasons, but the first one being that's what they want. They're not looking to add right-handed hitters. And you might be like, "Oh, that's crazy." Let's just go back to a few very basic points, and then I'll let Justin talk about the stadium. But one, you're going to face mostly right-handed pitchers. That's 80% of the time. So you're only getting an advantage 1/5 of the time. The other 4 out of the times, if your hitter is left-handed, that is advantage team, and overall that leads to more wins for a team if they are left-handed dominant. Number 2. Left-handed hitters, you face less of them, so they actually tend to perform better against lefties. Like a lefty on lefty matchup isn't death as much as a righty on righty matchup is because of the amount of times you face that person. Like I used to, when I fenced, we'd say lefties are weird. Even if it was a lefty on lefty matchup, lefties are always tougher because it's not what you're used to. So that applies in baseball as well. And number 3, if you are a hitter, it doesn't always work out perfectly, right? Like not every hitter develops well. If you are a platoon bat, you're going to be much more valuable if you're a lefty than a righty because again, you're going to be used more. It is just that. So this team, I had multiple people I know, trust, respect, have been friends with who are like, they have to add a right-handed bat. I think Condon being a right-handed bat is disadvantageous. I think that is a mark against him, not a mark in the positive. I think that they prefer left-handed bats as an organizational up and down the line preference.
Yeah, I don't think you're wrong at all. You're right. The platoon advantage is a big factor there. And I know some people, if you're a good hitter, handedness doesn't matter. I know some people are going to be like, well, we haven't had a Manny Ramirez in forever and Albert Bell. Like those are Hall of Fame generational hitters. And yeah, you definitely want those guys no matter what, if they're there. Hard to sit here and say that as good as Charlie Condon has been this year, that he is that. Like there are no guarantees. There are warts. That's why there is no consensus 1-1 in this draft because that's just the way things are going. But
Wyatt Langford would still go first overall in this draft.
Oh yeah, I mean, could have made an argument for him to go first overall last year. Truthfully, Jose is I know he's a switch hitter, but he's hit righties, better than lefties for his career. Right, exactly. And you just, like you said, you hit more often against left-handed or right-handed pitching. That's just the way it goes. So, yeah, you have more platoon advantages. You have more, like Lonnie Chisenhall found a really good role late in his career. I know everybody wants the everyday starter, but let's face it, the Guardians are who they are. And it's one of those things you can either adapt or you can try to, put a square peg in a round hole. I'd rather adapt and try to make the best of what you're given, and that's what they're given. And there is the fact of the stadium. Like, look at the mini green monster in left field, right? Like that's a 17-foot high wall? I forget how tall it is now, but the ballpark itself is built to favor left-handed hitters. It has a smaller left-handed or right-handed or right field porch. And I'm also kind of wondering, like, if some of these renovations they've done have also increased
the wind.
Yeah, like it comes in from behind the ballpark. They open the back of the ballpark a little bit, and obviously with the upper deck now, they've opened it to. So like, again, I don't know the science behind this. Major League Baseball is still trying to find the science behind this. So obviously, if they don't know it, I don't know it, but it might be a thing. It could be, and that's why you want more left-handed hitters. So the ballpark is built for left-handed hitters a little bit more. So that's part of the reason as well, which makes it all more curious, Jeff. Why on earth is Estevan Florial not playing? I'm not saying he should, because I don't think either you or I have been high on Estevan Florial coming here, but it is curious that he didn't start in this game. He hasn't really started at all. Like I think he's made 2 starts this year. It's a very bizarre situation. We're sitting here talking about how they prefer left-handed hitters, and Florial's on the bench. I know Freeman has earned his time in center field. He's played well defensively. The offense hasn't been that great. Look at the numbers so far; they're not great. But he's playing Ramon Laureano a ton, righty or lefty. So I don't know. That's very weird.
No, it's one of the things when we got Florial that was just poorly reported was people saying this guy was a plus defender, maybe in right field, but Florial is not a plus defender in center field. Those are really hard to come by. Freeman looks like he could potentially be there. That being said, so I think one of the things is just plain and simply like Freeman's the better defensive choice. That still matters. Yes, they moved on from Straw, but it still matters. Like they still want good defense there. And I mean, Michael Kopech, I get it. He throws hard, but he's not a good pitcher. Like if he was, he'd be getting more opportunities. He wouldn't get hit as often as he does.
Wouldn't say it was bad tonight, though.
He was very good tonight, but I mean, Florial looked like a minor, looked like a guy who is, a fringe player facing him. And I was
it's
never
hard
a Florial
to go
dude.
in there the way he did.
It
when
was.
He hasn't played.
But he was set up to not succeed. Like that 100% is the case. But it's just
what do we do with that roster spot? Like you said, Brennan's struggling. They're not playing Florial. What are you doing with that roster spot? Like it's too early to sit here and say, got to make a change. It's 11 games, but I'm just curious, like what is happening with that roster spot? Because it's very weird. We can get into that a little more tomorrow.
Yeah, it's incredibly weird, but it's just like, you almost need like that guy who barely plays. You need, I
guess. I don't know. That Cleveland does need to maximize their roster. So I would like to see what the alternative could be and how they can handle that spot a little better. So we can get into that. Game 3, Tanner Bybee takes the hill to try to give the Guardians the Game 3 win and take the series.
You have to win a series against the White Sox. You
do. It's supposed to be Eric. Is it Fetty?
Fetty, I believe.
Fetty, not Eric Feeney, Mr. Feeney. But that's what MLB app says. The Guardians are listing TBA for the White Sox. So I guess we'll see who it really is going to be in Game 3.
Well, I want to thank you all for joining us, rating, reviewing, downloading. It helps. Thank you to our new everydayer, Jerry Reinsdorf. Thank you, and go Guardians, go.